Welcome to Conversations with Corrections, hosted by the Utah Department of Corrections. This occasional podcast features staff, incarcerated individuals, and other stakeholders of the UDC discussing issues that impact corrections, both nationally and within the state of Utah. Here is today's host, Department Spokesman Liam Truchard.
And welcome back, everyone, to Conversations with Corrections. I'm Liam Truchard, and we have a special guest today, Brian Redd, the newly confirmed Executive Director of the Utah Department of Corrections. Brian, thank you very much for being here.
Thanks, Liam. It's good to be with you today.
So the question I seem to get a lot, and maybe you too, is why corrections? Why accept the position with this agency?
Well, you know, I did 20 years with the Utah Department of Public Safety. I had a very enjoyable career and had a lot of good opportunities there. And when I retired after 20 years, I went to Goldman Sachs, and I spent 2 years in the private sector. I enjoyed my work at Goldman Sachs. During that time also, I was invited to participate as a board member of two nonprofits here in the Salt Lake area, both who are working on issues around criminal justice and the social services system. So really looking at the intersection of crime, homelessness, mental health, and addiction. And so while I liked my time at Goldman Sachs and, maybe would go back to financial services one day, I did miss, my work in criminal justice. And so when this opportunity came to come to the Utah Department of Corrections, I enthusiastically accepted it.
So it's been about a month since you first walked in the door. It's not a lot of time, but what have you noticed so far? What are some of the things that stand out to you so far?
Well, the Utah Department of Corrections is a very complex organization. There's a lot of moving parts, and there's a lot of challenges and opportunities. And so as I go around meeting employees and learning about the organization, I'm very impressed with the work that is being done and the opportunities that exist here. So I'm excited to be here.
Where have you had a chance to go to so far?
So I've been out to the USCF several times. I've been down to Central Utah to the correctional facility there on one occasion and had a great tour. And then I've been out to some of the community correctional centers. I think I've been to Bonneville, Orange Street, and Fortitude, and just great opportunities to go out and see the good work that's being done, meet employees, speak with those in our supervision as well, which has been enlightening and interesting, and it's just been a good opportunity. I've also had opportunities to go out and meet with many of our external stakeholders. I've talked to several legislators. I've talked to formerly incarcerated individuals, also groups that represent those within our supervision, and just getting a broad view of what work is going on, what good is being done, where improvements can be made, and how we can all work together.
So in that short time, you mentioned challenges. What are some of the challenges that have jumped out right away?
Well, obviously, we are understaffed, and so that is a big challenge that we need to keep focus on. So recruiting and retention are extremely important. We're talking about, I'm learning about the things that we're doing for recruiting and retention, looking at how we can improve those things. So that's one big challenge. We're looking, and you should see something come out fairly soon on an employee hiring referral program that we're close to rolling out. So that will be something, a step in the right direction to enhance recruiting and retention. We're looking at workplace culture, so that's always something that we should be looking at and trying to improve. And so that's one that we'll be looking at. So those are a couple of the large challenges that I'm seeing, and then also just how we move those in our supervision through the system, giving them the opportunities, the programming, and those types of things that they need to progress and be prepared to come back into society and contribute.
What are some of the things that you've seen so far that you think are going well?
Well, there's a lot of good work going on. I was down in central Utah, and I was able to go through the Gale housing facility and see a lot of good things happening there. As I walk around and speak with employees, I see employees who have connections with those within supervision that are trying to advance and help. So I know, like at the USCF, I was going around with Lieutenant Johnson, who had organized games, sporting games for those that are incarcerated. And as we walked around that day, I think it was Memorial Day, there were several inmates who would acknowledge those games, how much fun they were, and how they would like to see more of that type of thing. So I think those types of things are very positive. Just people are working really hard, Liam, in trying to advance the objectives of the organization. And I see people taking ownership and doing good things, and those things are very positive.
The big thing that I see in the very near future is the beginning of the transition of the Clinical Services Bureau to DHHS, Department of Health and Human Services. How much have you had a chance to start looking into that, and how does that seem to be going?
So very involved in those conversations. Matter of fact, there's 2 meetings today and multiple meetings every day. So that's an important transition. I support it, and we're never going to be separated from the medical side of what is happening. We're going to be first responders to medical situations going on. The physical facility is under our responsibility, and so it's going well. We need to continue to stay connected and find ways to progress that objective. That is one of the things that we have to get right. We have the legislative audits on that, and we have committed that we will help with that transition, and we'll help. And at the end of the day, it's our responsibility to make sure that those in our supervision get good medical care.
Along those lines, what else have you got the ball rolling on? What programs or councils have you set up in an effort to improve the department?
Well, some may know and some may not that I have an external landing team that is helping me kind of gain information. So there's 12 individuals that are outside the Utah Department of Corrections that I've worked with over the years, some from the criminal justice profession, some from the private sector. And these individuals are out, they're talking with individuals, they're kind of looking at the structure of the organization, getting information, and kind of helping me come up to speed. It's a short-term team. They should be done toward the end of this month, and then they'll be providing information to me to kind of help me. I'm also obviously going out and talking to staff and our leadership here at UDC and others to evaluate those things as well. So they will bring some recommendations. So that's who we're talking to. So that's something that's helpful. We're looking to add advisory groups, like a staff advisory council that will meet directly with me at some point. We'll have that organized, and they'll be able to provide feedback directly to me. We're just trying to figure out who we're gonna involve and how we're gonna involve them and what that's gonna look like. We'll continue to speak with external groups as well and get their input.
So within the staff, what are some of the things that you're looking at right now? What are some of the changes that you're hoping to institute relatively quickly?
Well, obviously, one of the things that I continue to hear and that would be very challenging is the mandatory overtime. The mandatory overtime. For example, when we have adult probation and parole agents coming into the prison working the mandatory overtime, that takes away from their core mission, and so that's something that we need that I'm looking at, and we're trying to figure out how we can improve that. I mean, a lot of it will be just hiring and retaining more employees. So that's one thing that we're looking at with staff. I mentioned the employee referral program. We're looking to institute something like that to help. One of the things that was being discussed even before I got here was a safety and security type council. The legislative audit is going on. I think most people are aware there's a legislative audit on safety and security within the organization. And so we're looking at supporting that audit, number one, but having a safety and security council, that is already in process now. So that council will look at issues within the organization and how we can improve safety and security. You're also aware of guarding mines, so that's something that some results just went out in our weekly newsletter. That's something new also that we're putting in place. So guarding mines, safety and security are definitely top priorities, and we'll continue to look at that.
Well, Brian, I promised 15 minutes. We're almost there. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you would like to add?
Well, I'm just very excited to be here. Everyone has been so welcoming. I have an open door. If people have issues they would like to bring to me, please bring those. You can send an email. You can call me. I think it's critical that we hear from those who are doing the work and listen and try to implement and improve the organization. I think those doing the work that are closest to it know what needs to be done and how to improve things. So I want their voice to be heard. We want to increase transparency and communication, so we'll try to get more information out. And when you have ideas, please, on how to do that, please share that. I think the last thing that I would say is that I think it's critical that we have a professional and inviting workplace. And so I would encourage all of us to think about how we can increase our professionalism. Also very important is that we have a place that's safe for people to work. And when I say safe, I mean not just physically safe, but psychologically safe as well. Just we want to have a good professional environment where people can focus on the work and work together and feel welcome. So I would say that's something that's very important to me as well. But I'm just excited to be here. Looking forward to working with you and all of the staff here at UDC.
Well, Brian, thank you very much for being here. If it's all right with you, maybe we have you back maybe in a few months, just after you get a little bit more further down the path of this. Folks can send in questions and thoughts to corrections@utah.gov. If we get a few for you, maybe we'll have a few of those questions available for you next time. And for everybody else, thank you very much for listening to Conversations with Corrections.
This has been Conversations with Corrections from the Utah Department of Corrections. These podcasts are on our website at corrections.utah.gov or on the UDC YouTube page. Suggestions for a future topic can be sent to corrections@utah.gov. Thank you for joining us.